Hey guys, Barrett here from Pickleball Kitchen. It is time to learn a super fun yet super effective shot in pickleball. This is a topspin shot that I've been using over the past maybe year or so. But typically when we talk about topspin, things can get kind of difficult. However, this one really isn't that hard once we break it down. So are you ready to learn the flick? Let's get started. Recently, I released a new course called Technique Tyrant, which is on my premium video service called PK Academy. So if you're a member, go ahead and log in and you'll get the absolute finest details imaginable about topspin shots like this. But just to give you kind of a basic look at this, the flick is essentially a topspin roll, just as we usually would do, typically on a bounce. But the difference though is that there's not a lot of body language. All right, so let me just show you a couple of examples of this to just kind of give you a general look. So how do you actually get started with a shot like this? I'm gonna give you a couple of angles, don't worry, but just to get started here, the thing that makes the flick unique is that it's naturally disguised. And what I mean by naturally disguised is that you're not necessarily disguising it on purpose. In other words, you're looking in one direction and hitting the ball another. It's just that it's all in the arm motion. There's not a lot of lower body or even upper body motion besides the arm, as you saw. That's why this shot can be a little bit tricky to sort of defend against, because it comes out of nowhere, right? Typically what we're used to seeing is people kind of winding up, taking big steps, things like this, right? Getting the paddle back, coming through, that sort of thing. That lets you know that the shot is coming, but with the flick, a little bit different. So let me give you a better angle here. Okay, to get started with topspin here, it's so important, guys, when we do topspin that you get the paddle down like this. If you're used to hinging the wrist on topspin, that's okay, but if you're getting started, I don't recommend it. It's so important to get the paddle down. Fling the paddle down like this on purpose. That's really gonna help you get started. And then what we're gonna do is, obviously we're gonna brush up on the ball like we're used to doing, right? But what you wanna pretend like you're doing is that you're listening to the paddle once you're done with the stroke. So you come up and then you listen to your paddle here like this. See how I got it? I've got it up against my ear like that. That's what it's gonna feel like. So we get the paddle down, brush up, and then next to your ear. And so all together what that looks like is that the ball's coming over, down, brush up, like this. And there's no body motion. There's hardly any body language. Down, up, like that. It's all in the arm. That's the flick. Okay, let's take a look. Now I'm gonna step back just a little bit so you can kind of see the full thing here, but let me just show you what it looks like. Now, did you notice that? What may happen, by the way, you may accidentally hit your shoulder. You probably heard that in the microphone since it's so close. That's going to happen. You're gonna kind of bonk yourself a couple of times when you're doing this for the first time, but that's okay. But notice the flick. Okay, it's all in the arm. Now, Linda here is an expert on blocking hard shots, so this is not gonna work against her, unfortunately, but again, take a look at how calm everything is. And it just comes out of nowhere. Notice my body language. It's very quiet. It's very calm. That's the point. Okay? That's the flick. Now, let me give you a side angle. Now, what you saw was me a little bit further back, but you can do this at the net, and that's where it's going to be the most common. It can help to practice this shot from further back, but where you're gonna see it is right here up at the net. And what you're looking for is a little soft one right near your forehand, okay? Now again, Linda's pretty good at blocking these, okay? So what you're waiting for are typically a higher bouncing dink near your forehand, like that. Here's the cool thing though, the topspin is what keeps the ball down. So even if they let it go, or if they're just out of position or something like that, it will still probably go in. Now, that's not gonna happen 100% of the time, right? But it's still there as kind of a backup plan, so to speak. And of course you get the old net cords, right? I mean, that's always gonna happen. Again, you don't necessarily have to attack your opponent. I mean, that's kind of the point of these sorts of flicks, but you can always go for just an open spot. Cool. Really, really fun. In terms of where you should attack though, the best spot is going to be the forehand shoulder. So just remember that as you're trying the shot. Cool. Again, if you want to go down the middle, you can totally do that. You don't necessarily have to attack on a shot like this. Well, let me put you behind me so you can see from there.
Yeah. Maybe.
Now here are a few extra things that are really cool about this shot is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a hard shot. It can still be a soft flick. And where this really comes in use is when you're playing against someone who knows you quite well, right? And they know that you can do this shot. If they sort of feel it's coming, you can do the soft flick, which is really, really cool. Let me show you how it works here. So Linda has been blocking these quite well, right? So she kind of knows they're coming, but she doesn't know when a soft one is coming, and that can really mess people up. Like that. Perfect example. She was probably thinking to herself, oh boy, here comes a hard one, right? And she's getting ready to block it, but then when she goes to take care of that softer flick, she's still in that same mindset of I must block the shot, and that's where the mistake happens. So definitely switch these up every now and then, and it can add a little bit of extra spice to your flicks. Again, when it comes to the technique, guys, it's really important that you get that paddle down and then you just come up with the arm like this. Again, if you want the crazy, crazy detail, go check out Technique Tyrant inside PK Academy. It's on my website. That will do a lot for your game. It's a fan favorite, to say the least. Now, one other thing about this that's really cool, we were just mentioning this, Linda and I, is that because there's so much topspin on the ball, if the ball does end up hitting the net, the topspin is going to help to kind of get it over a little bit more, and it will either bounce up straight at the person, which is a disaster, as you know, or it will dribble over. Now, we don't like those kinds of shots, right, when they dribble over. Sorry, not sorry, right? But that's the reality of topspin.
Yeah.
There's a good example, right? So you see how that works. And I mean, as we've been doing this, I've probably gotten 3 or 4 of those just accidentally, right? So anyway, guys, that's how you do the flick. Focus on the soft versions and the hard versions. Use them to attack the forehand shoulder or to pierce right down the middle. Anyway, guys, head on over to pickleballkitchen.com. Got a bunch of stuff on there. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.